let's slide over real quick and cover the artifact tier list. So once again, they kind of bonus on the artifacts. You can't go 6 months back, so you can't get bird's eye view, which I really, really, really wanted to use my selectors on. I'm so sad I can't pick that up. You also can't get Wukong's artifact or Janua's artifact because they are all likewise shut out. And you, of course, cannot get any limited or collaboration artifacts, so let's just take a second, put all the limiteds and collaborations out of the list. Okay, so now that we've got all of the limited, collaboration, Guild War, free in-game, event, and past 6 months artifacts out of the list, we're going to approach this the same way. Now, you get even fewer artifact selectors from this event. You'll get 6 artifact selectors as a new player, and I think only 3 as an existing or returning player. So I'm just going to put the top 6 for recommended selectors, and then once again, if you've got these top 6, because these are artifacts you need on your account, at least one, maybe multiples. Once you are satisfied with your top row, then I can recommend the middle row, and please don't use your selectors on the bottom row. So let's just go ahead and fill the bottom row up. We'll go through this super fast because there is a lot of garbage in this game. Creation of Destruction, just bad. That artifact, bad. Bloody Rose, bad. Bad, bad. Unused. Niche, not used at all. Terrible, garbage. Hot garbage, even hotter garbage. Annoying garbage. Difficulty is garbage. Niche garbage. Niche, hard to use. Bad. Bad. Awful. What the hell's this? Why is this even a thing? Not used by anybody. Kinda bad. Needs to be max level to be decent. Just a stat stick. Only good on Senya. Or some of the Charlottes. Too niche to be right. Why would I recommend something that can only be used on one unit? Only good on an ML5 who isn't very good. Bad artifact. Only good on Inferno Kawazu, and there's niche uses for him. Not going to recommend. People will be like, oh, this artifact's really good on one person. I'm not going to recommend you use a selector on an artifact that's only good on one person. Freakishly decent, right? Let's put this at the front of the list because it can be used on a lot of thieves in higher end fighting, but it's just not something I can recommend. This is bad. This is terrible. This has some uses in RTA, can steal some souls, but there are just better options for knights. This is a nice stat stick, there's better options. This is nice for Alencia. That's a single unit. This is nice for Commander Pavel, that's a single unit. This has some minor uses. I'll leave it close to the front of the list. This has some niche uses on certain specific heroes, like that aren't really used that much anymore. I'll leave it near the top. This is a stat stick. This can get you the crit chance and damage you need to make some DPS mages work, but it's really niche. This thing is... I'm only putting this up so high because this is a quasi-limited artifact. This isn't attached to any banners at all. The only way you can get it is from a selector or just being lucky and having it randomly drop in your lap from a covenant, or if it's in the powder shop. It used to be one of the most sought-after artifacts in the Hua Young meta, but it has fallen off and almost nobody uses this thing anymore. This is annoying. This is a great way to annoy your friends when you fight them in RTA and in RTA rooms, but not many mages use this. This is pretty good for Pera, and that's about it. This is pretty good for Shu and a couple other units that you want to keep damage-free. This lets you avoid crits. This is bad. This is nice high up for use with certain opener rangers when you want to put stealth on your highest damage unit. I think it's just as niche as the things to the left and right of it. Wings is very niche and only really used on Brieg and ML Ilanov. Can't recommend units that are only used on 1 or 2 units. Alabastron is a nice unit that, is a nice artifact as a stat stick. It can give debuffs, including defense break. It can boost your effectiveness. It can help you overcome some stat requirements for certain PvE challenges, but Other than that, it reminds me a lot of the Etica and Mui units, right? When it's good, it's great, and when it's not good, you never even touch it. Manica control is basically Black Hand of the Goddess, but for thieves. Sword of Summer Twilight, I'm moving close to the top. I'm moving it to the top. It's a penetration artifact. This is great for boosting your damage dealers. It's really nice on Vildred, can let you really boost up your damage on your clear units. Border Coin, if you have Conqueror Lilius, this can find some uses. Nobody else really uses it. Durandal is really nice for Dark Corvus or for Fire Ken when you're using him in a Wyvern one-shot, but again, this is very niche, specific uses, only like most of these are. Most of these ones that are up top are specific niche uses for 1, 2, maybe 3 units tops, and that's why I'm not recommending them for selectors. They may be broken and great for 1 specific unit, or even 2 specific units, but how can you justify using a selector on something that's good for just 1 or 2 specific units? Whew! Now that we've gone through all of the flotsam and jetsam, let's talk about what is good. What are the artifacts you want to get? I think nobody would disagree that by far and away the most important artifact in the game is Elbris Ritual Sword in a modern era. This is an artifact you probably will not only want 1 of, you'll want it to be max, and then you'll want 2, 3, 4, or 5 more of them. This artifact lets knights counterattack. You can never have enough of this artifact. So, I think if you've got a selector, you definitely pick up Elbris. Even if you're brand spanking new and probably won't use it for a few months, get it. You will be glad you have it at least. It is a must have for PvP usages. And on the flip side is Bloodstone. It has 0 use in PvP of any kind, but it's one of the biggest staple artifacts for PvE, and much like Uberous Tooth, it is a quasi-limited artifact, and by that I mean it's not tied to any unit. There is no banner that will come with Bloodstone. Your only way to access this thing is through selectors like this, having it randomly drop into your lap when you do your daily summons, or purchasing it through the powder shop when it just so happens to be there. This unit turns any ranger on your team into a soul weaver. It lets any ranger heal based on the damage it does, and rangers can do terrific damage. So this will let you clear a lot of Epic 7's PvE content without a soul weaver, increasing your damage and your ability to clear floors. I think this is a very important pickup. You only want 1 of them. Windrider is also a quasi-limited artifact. Like Bloodstone and Uberous, it is not tied to any unit's banner, so it's almost impossible to get. It's got to randomly drop in your lap, you've got to buy it from the shop, or you get it from a selector. This is the most important thief DPS artifact if you've got a Genua, if you've got a Midnight Galililius, if you have got a Cid. This artifact is strong, and I would recommend at least 2, if not 3 of this artifact for when you are wanting to get more heavily invested in RTA and PvP in general. For PvE, this one can go down on your list of importance, but I still would pick at least 1 of them up because of how hard it is to get and how important it is for many of the top units. Sigurd Scythe is tied to, I believe, Fire Ravi's banner. It is one of the more important warrior artifacts. This lets your warrior self-heal. If your health drops below 50%, this artifact activates and you suddenly heal yourself based on the damage, and it gives a massive boost to your damage, making the healing even more impactful and your damage dealer even more impactful to your enemy's ability to stay alive. I think you would want at least 2 of these. On the flip side is Golden Rose. Golden Rose boosts your damage the entire time you're using it and gives you the ability to heal the entire time you're using it. Its damage and healing is not as impactful as Sigurd Scythe, but it's right out of the gate. This is better for non-attack scaling DPS units, HP scalers, defense scalers like Lionheart Sirmia, HP scalers like Apocalypse Ravi. This is a really nice artifact to have, and I think, like Sigurd Scythe, it's a good one to have 1 or 2 of in your back pocket to let you be able to really run some of the stronger warriors in the game. And my sixth and final you must have on your account is Spirit's Breath. Oftentimes called Whale's Breath because it really shines at plus 30 where it has a 100% chance to work. Below plus 30, it's a little bit difficult to use. You only need one of these on your account, and you want to do your best to max it out as quickly as possible. This is an evergreen unit. It is never used in RTA, ever. But it is used heavily in a lot of PvE content, a lot of ways to cheese abyss floors, a lot of ways to handle new PvE content when it drops. You'll be very glad you have this on your account, and every chance you get to level it up, you should take it. I think it's definitely worthy of a top selector spot. Now let's get down to if you have these 6, what do you get? Rod of Amaryllis is not tied to anybody's banner. Much like Bloodstone, Windrider, and Elbris, you can only get it through random drops. And it's got such a strong single target healing that you can attach it to your Soul Weaver, ramping their healing up even higher, and it really gives you that extra boost you're going to need to clear a lot of early PvE content. It falls off a lot towards the end game. You'll not use it nearly as much, but in early PvE, it is a very, very strong artifact to have. Touch of Rekos, though not limited, not quasi-limited like Rod of Amaryllis, I think is slightly more important for PvE and keeping your units alive. Alexa's Basket is a very important artifact for any thief DPS unit. It can be used on everybody from Bloodblade Corinne, who's one of the top DPS units in the game right now, all the way through 4-star Tempest Surin. After its buff came out, it became a lot more stable, and I think it's worthwhile to pick up. Song of Stars. Now, there's some people that'll argue that Song of Stars belongs up here because of how important it is to PvE. These artifacts will be important to you forever. There will never be a point in time where you stop using these artifacts, and that's why these are the essential artifacts. This one lets you solve problems. Early PvE, this will let you do things that are very difficult to do without it. And late PvE, this will let you attain high scores that are hard to attain without it. But its situational use gets less and less the longer you play the game. And so I'm definitely putting it in a, once you have acquired these 6 essentials, it's definitely worth the pickup. You only want one of them. In fact, everything down here, I think one of them is plenty. There are some that getting multiples would be nice, but I think one of them is plenty fine. Celestine is, I think, our final quasi-limited artifact. Like Bloodstone, Windrider, Rod of Amaryllis, and Elbris Tooth, Celestine is not tied to anybody's banner. It's very difficult to get, and though its uses are not quite as strong as Touch of Rekos or Rod of Amaryllis, it's nice for HP units who have single target, who have non-attack skills, because what happens here is when your Soul Weaver attacks, it will heal your team based on, or heal a unit based on a percentage of health. So that's nice for the off turns where you're using a Soul Weaver that doesn't heal on one of its skills. Little Queen's Big Crown is underrated. This is a serious damage boost in PvE. It can be great versus barriers. In PvP, there's certain units that use it really, really well. You can slap this on a unit and bang out a ton of damage. I think a lot of people don't quite get how much damage this can add to your damage dealers and how important that can be when you're breaking into early RTA going for that Master's Frame. Doctor's Bag. This is one that you could get up to 2 of them, I think, and be happy, but you want at least one. This will cleanse debuffs off of your team when you're using non-attack skills. It is busted on so many high-end Soul Weavers. Etica Scepter, a little bit more of a niche use, mostly in PvE, but it's seeing some PvP usage. This allows Soul Weavers to, this allows mages to have a chance to lower their skill cooldowns at the start of their turn. Nasty, nasty artifact to put on Angel Light Angelica, the new ML Luna, fantastic on her. And you'll be able to use it in a lot of PvE content too, allowing you to cycle your mage's hat faster to clear your PvE content like expeditions even more stable. Uberous Tooth is pretty much right beside Little Queen's Big Crown, or for a good damage dealing unit or damage dealing artifact. Little Queen's Big Crown does extra damage when there's barriers. This one, CR pushes your team when you kill things. Both of them are great damage sticks. Secret Art Stormsword, if you are running thieves and you want to really ruin people's lives, Secret Art Stormsword is a must. Now, this is a very specific artifact. If you don't have any thieves on your team, or you aren't focusing on thieves for your PvP, the value of this falls off quite a bit. But if you picked up Green Celine, if you picked up even Genua, if you picked up Savior Auden, you can do horrible things to people with this artifact, and I think it's worth having at least one, maybe even two of these artifacts to really open up a portfolio of techs to your ability to do damage in PvP. Elegiac Candle is a one of the few artifacts that drops defense breaks. I think it is one of only 2 artifacts that can do a defense break that's not limited. Alabastron being the other one, and this one is really hard to use. This one lets you do defense breaks, and it can work AoE. If you have an AoE skill, you can drop deep defense breaks on people. So this is a really nice one to pick up if you want to take your rangers up a level. I would only get one of them. If you decide to go with Ran or Genua, you can't go wrong with Rhianna and Luciella. RNL, also referred to as Ran Never Loses, RNL. This artifact is crazy good on any thief that does multiple turn 1 attacks. It's the bane to people's existence. Whenever we see it proc, we roll our eyes because we know we're about to lose to a stupid artifact. I think this one's worth picking up just for the cheese and rage it brings to the game. Unseen Observer is free souls for any ranger who has a non-attack skill. You slap this on Astromancer Elena, you slap this on Flan, and you have got extra souls for your team to let you get things done. It is a little bit niche. You can put this on Green Asaria and immediately go into a soul burn for your Dark Corvus if you want to run the Asaria Dark Corvus teams in Guild Wars. So a lot of utility to this. I have 2 of them. The nice thing about Obscene Observer is it just works at plus 15. There's no real reason to imprint this artifact, so 2 plus 15s are way better than 1 plus 18, if you get my drift. Stella Harpa has a little bit of RNG to it, but this is a really nice artifact for Rhianna, and that is pretty much it. I put this on Rhianna, I stick her in the front, and a lot of my PvE needs are satisfied. It adds the one thing to Rhianna's kit that she's missing, and that's Cleanse. It can be good on a handful of other Soul Weavers, but I think you'll find other options. I know I'm kind of breaking my rule where I'm recommending an artifact that's only really good on 1, maybe 2 units, but this one is so good on those 1, maybe 2 units, I think it's worth the pickup. Holy Sacrifice lets you bring your knight back to life without having to use a Soul Weaver to do it. Holy Sacrifice gives you a mulligan, gives you a do-over. At plus 15, there's a 75% chance that your knight will come back to life. You get this thing up to plus 30, and it's a 100% chance that your knight will come back to life. With knights being so strong and so critical in this game, Holy Sacrifice is devastating on so many of them. This is the artifact that you want on your Abyssal Euphine. You want it on your ML Senya. You can run it on your ML Ilanov. You can run it on your Tywin. You can run it on your any unit that's got mitigation on it. It is a horrible, unpleasant surprise, and it can completely take what looked like your enemy's victory right out of their hands and put it in yours. So if you want to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, pick up a couple of these artifacts so that you can build knights that just ruin people's days. Time Matter, I'm only putting up here because it's really good on a damage-based Zeo, and it's really good on Vivian for achieving hunts. Its usefulness on Vivian and hunts is really the thing that makes it good. If you're not planning to use Vivian for hunts, and you're not planning on making a DPS Zeo, the value of this artifact falls off quite a bit. I have seen it used on a handful of other artifacts, and once again, like with Stella Harpa, I'm breaking my rule about recommending and endorsing an artifact that's only used on 1 or 2 units, but its value there is so strong, especially in PvE, I can't not mention it on this list. Shimadra Staff amplifies the healing. Much like this amplifies the healing. This gives healing to your team when your team gets attacked. This increases the healing capabilities of everybody. And not just healing spells, not just Soul Weavers healing people. This makes your Lifesteal heal more. This makes your Sigurd Scythe and Golden Rose heal more. This makes units that have healing built into their kit. It amplifies that healing, and this adds 20% effect resistance to your kit. This is a powerhouse artifact that I think is so strong, I'm moving it closer to the front. This will let you build your entire team with less effect resistance in PvE. This will let you build your Soul Weavers with more healing capability and having them give effect resistance to the entire team. Just remember to keep in mind that whoever is wearing this artifact, if that unit dies, the artifact's capabilities go with it. Artifact effects do not stick around after death. And lastly is Bastion of Perlutia. This one is really kind of niche, but the nice thing about Bastion of Perlutia is when you have it on a knight, you give a barrier and immunity to that knight and the back row. And if you really want to be able to send immunity to a unit that you don't have immunity on, you want to build a very specific team where a unit needs immunity, but you also want it to have pen set, for example, this is a way to cheat it in, so you can start the fight with immunity on a specific unit. I think it's a decent pickup. It's got kind of a niche use, but it is a powerful niche use, so there you go. This is my recommendation for artifact selectors. Only 6, whereas we had 9 units, but you're only getting 6 artifact selectors if you're a new player, not 9. You get these artifacts. And then you look down here and really think, do I need any of these artifacts? Or is it time to get a second Elbris, or a second Windrider, or a second Golden Rose? Or maybe I go for more Spirit Breaths to get its % chance even higher so that I reduce my RNG. I hope this list helps you out. I know I'm going to get some comments saying, oh, but this artifact is perfect on XYZ unit. I can't endorse artifacts that are only good on one unit. I hope this helps you guys out. Sorry for the double tier list, but I felt the need to put this up after we were informed that you could not go after artifacts and units that were out in the past 6 months. I will have links to the images for these tier lists in the description of the video. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments section or join my Discord, also linked in the description. Send me a DM directly. If you're on the fence about something, I'm happy to give you a little bit of advice, but everybody's got to find their own way in this game. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, Epic 7.